Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. I am Zobia Akram from Divisional Public School and Inter College Sahiwal. I will teach you Biology class 10th, chapter number 10, lecture number 11. Objectives. By the end of this lesson, students will be able to understand what is dialysis, types of dialysis and their methods, and kidney transplant. Dear students, in your previous class you have studied about kidney failure. As you know that it is a partial and complete failure of a kidney to function. The causes of kidney failure are diabetes and hypertension. Treatment of kidney failure. Kidney failure is treated with dialysis and kidney transplant. So student, today we will study about dialysis and kidney transplant. Dialysis. Dialysis means the cleaning of blood by artificial way. Actually student, in this method, the blood of a body is cleaned up by artificial way or a machine. There are two methods of dialysis. First one, peritoneal dialysis, and the second one, hemodialysis. Now we will study these methods one by one. Peritoneal dialysis. In the peritoneal dialysis, the peritoneal cavity is used to remove excess fluid from blood. So students, first of all we should know about what is peritoneal cavity. It is a cavity around the gut. See this diagram. This portion is called peritoneal cavity, which is a space around the gut. Now students, we will study the method of peritoneal dialysis. Dear students, see this diagram. As you can see, this portion is called peritoneal cavity. This tube-like structure is called peritoneal catheter or peritoneal tube. There are internal organs. This tube or peritoneal catheter is connected with bag containing a dialysis solution, and this is the drain line. Actually students, in this type of dialysis, the dialysis fluid is pumped for a time into a peritoneal cavity, which is a space around the gut, as you can see in this diagram. This cavity is lined by peritoneum. Here is a membrane is present, which is called peritoneum. Peritoneum contains blood vessels. When we place dialysis fluid in peritoneal cavity, as you can see in this peritoneal cavity, waste materials from peritoneal blood vessels diffuse into dialysis fluid, which is then drained out. So students, we can say, when we place dialysis fluid in peritoneal cavity, waste materials from peritoneal blood vessels diffuses into dialysis fluid, which is then drained out. This type of dialysis can be performed at home, but must be done every day. So students, in this way, the blood is cleaned up by peritoneal dialysis. Advantages of peritoneal dialysis. Fewer chances of negative side effects such as nausea, vomiting, cramping, and weight gain. It provides continuous therapy which acts more like natural kidney. But there are some disadvantages of peritoneal dialysis, which are risk of weight gain, no off days. It means it must be done every day. Now students, we will study second type of dialysis, which is called hemodialysis. In hemodialysis, the patient blood is pumped through a dialyzer. So students, we should know about what is dialyzer. It is an artificial kidney. Its function to remove excess waste and fluid from blood. This diagram shows the structure of dialyzer, as you can see. This is a dialyzer machine. Its function to remove excess waste and fluid from blood. Now students, we will discuss the method of hemodialysis. Actually students, in hemodialysis, the patient's blood is pumped through an apparatus called dialyzer. As you can see in this diagram, this machine is called dialyzer. The dialyzer contains long tube, the walls of which act as a semi-permeable membrane. This is a dialyzer tube. Its wall acts as a semi-permeable membrane. The blood flows through a tube while the dialysis fluid flows around the tubes. Extra water and waste move from the blood into dialysis fluid. The clean blood is then returned back to the body. So students, we can say the patient's blood is pumped into a dialyzer. After the removal of excess fluid, the clean blood returned back to the body by a tube. As you can see in this diagram, this is a dialyzer tube. The patient blood is pumped out and enter into a dialyzer machine. Here the removal of extra water and waste material takes place. After this, clean blood returned back to the body by this tube, as you can see in this diagram. And waste material is drained out by this tube. So in this way, the blood of a patient is cleaned up by hemodialysis. Now students, we will study the advantages of hemodialysis. It requires less time each session, lasting between 3 to 5 hours. It may occur at hospital or home. It carries relatively low risk of infection. It may occur 3 times a week. But there are some disadvantages of hemodialysis. It may cause bacteremia. Bacteremia, actually the presence of bacteria in blood. Vascular access surgery required. And last one, must travel to center 3 times a week. So students, in this way we have completed dialysis, its types, and their methods. Now we will study the kidney transplant. Dear students, as you know that the dialysis needs to be repeated after every few days, or it is unpleasant for patients and attendants. Another treatment for the end-stage kidney failure is kidney transplantation. Kidney transplant. It is the replacement of patient's damaged kidney with donor healthy kidney. And the next one, source of kidney. It may be donated by living donor or deceased donor. Deceased donor means recently dead body, recently dead patient. The donor may or may not be a relative of the patient. Compatibility. Before transplant, ABO blood group and tissue proteins, leukocytes, antigens are matched. These tests are required for kidney transplant. And the next one, lifespan. The average lifetime for the donated kidney is 10 to 15 years. Complications. There are some complications which are faced by the patient. Problems after transplant may include rejection. Sometimes kidney transplant may be rejected due to some metabolic reaction in the body of the patient. Second one, infection. Some viral or bacterial infection may occur after kidney transplant. And the last one, imbalances in the body salts which can lead to bone problems and ulcer. So students, in this way we have completed our last objective, which is kidney transplant. Let's take a short review of our today's lesson. Dear students, today we have studied about dialysis, its type, and their methods. Dialysis. Dialysis means cleaning of blood by artificial way. There are two methods of dialysis, as you can see in this diagram. This is peritoneal dialysis, and this portion shows the structure of hemodialyzer. Dear students, we have studied in peritoneal dialysis. The dialysis fluid is pumped for a time into a peritoneal cavity, which is the space around the gut. This cavity is lined by the peritoneum. Peritoneum contains blood vessels. When we place dialysis fluid in peritoneal cavity, waste materials from peritoneal blood vessel diffuses into dialysis fluid, which is then drained out. On the other hand, hemodialysis. Hemodialysis is the second type of dialysis. In hemodialysis, the patient blood is pumped through an apparatus called dialyzer. The dialyzer contains a long tube, the walls of which act as a semi-permeable membrane. As you can see, this structure shows the artificial membrane. Blood flows through the tubes while the dialysis fluid flows around the tubes. Extra water and waste move from blood into dialysis fluid, and clean blood returned back to the body. Hemodialysis treatments are typically given in dialysis center 3 times per week, while peritoneal dialysis must be done every day. And the next one, kidney transplant. Dear students, we have studied that kidney transplant, it is a replacement of patient's damaged kidney with a donor healthy kidney. Kidney may be donated by living or non-living donor. Donor may be relative of a patient. The average lifetime for the donated kidney is 10 to 15 years. There are some problems after transplant may include transplant rejection, infections, imbalances in the body salts, which can lead to bone problems and ulcer. So students, in this way we have completed our today's topic. Now students, there are some questions which are related to our today's topic. Give the short answers of following question. Let's see. What is meant by dialysis? We have studied that dialysis means cleaning of blood by artificial way. And the second one, what is peritoneal cavity? So students, we have studied that peritoneal cavity is a space around the gut. Next question, define dialyzer. We have studied that dialyzer is an artificial machine or apparatus through which patient's blood is cleaned. Next question, what do you know about kidney transplant? Dear students, we have studied that it is a replacement of patient's damaged kidney with donor healthy kidney. And the last one, what is peritoneal dialysis? Dear students, we have studied peritoneal dialysis. In this type of dialysis fluid is pumped for a time into a peritoneal cavity, which is a space around the gut. This cavity is lined by a peritoneum. Peritoneum contains blood vessels. When we place dialysis fluid in peritoneal cavity, waste materials from peritoneal blood vessel diffuses into the dialysis fluid, which is then drained out. The next one, extensive question. Define and explain the hemodialysis. I hope today's lesson will help you to understand dialysis, its types and their methods, and kidney transplant. Thank you.